to know who invented the radio?
Well, Richard, here he is, an Italian called Guglielmo Marconi. And in 1895, he invented the first ever radio. And it consisted of receiving and transmitting Morse code signals over radio waves. And here he is sitting with not quite such a primitive model as the first ever radio, but nevertheless you can still see the tapper here that he used to tap out the Morse code signals.
Radio 1, newsbeat, ding-a-ding-ding-a-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding-ding. Actually, Radio 1 wasn't around when this kind of radio was in use. It is a crystal radio set, very popular in the 1920s. It was fairly cheap to buy, fairly simple to use, didn't need any batteries or electricity. What it did have was a crystal. There it is in there, that white thing is a crystal, gently touched by a very thin wire, which was known as the cat's whisker. And you can see why, because it looks a bit like a curly cat's whisker. Now, you could fiddle about with the whisker with this knob here. The whole thing had an aerial which picked up radio waves within about a 12-mile radius, and you could fiddle about, find the channel, and instead of an amplifier like you get in radios today, you'd have to listen through the sort of earphone bits, and then you could tune in, listen to the radio. Very good invention. Now, today's programme is going to be a bit special because it's going to be about inventions. We've had lots of questions from people asking who invented what, why and when, so we thought we'd answer some questions about inventions ourselves, and then we're going to ask you to send in some ideas that you might have for inventions of your own. OK? Hang on, looks like someone's starting inventing already. Jo?
I, of course, have got a fine scientific brain, you know. Been inventing things since I was tiny. But wait till you see my latest invention. Here you go. It is my amazing joke-telling machine. You see, you sent in so many jokes when I asked for more for the new year that I've had to invent a machine to tell them all. It is brilliant. There's already a joke in there from Louise Parker. I'll just press me knob here. Here we go. And off it goes.
How do you cook sausages in the jungle? Put them under a gorilla.
And another joke here from Kashif Bhatti. Here we go.
What did the policeman say to his tummy? You're under arrest.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Another one now.
Who invented fractions?
Hang on, excuse me, I haven't got another joke in. Stop! Stop! Thank you very much, sis! Stop! Stop! Oh, thank goodness. Maybe it wasn't such a good invention after all. Never mind. I'll get on with my next one now. Where's my plan? Here it is.
A mystery invention. What do you think it is? Well, it's just one of the objects that we took to a school in Old Coulsdon. So see if you can beat Robert and Lisa in guessing what it is. Any ideas what on earth this strange object is?
A pump?
A pump? Could be, could be. What do you think, Lisa?
Pump.
A pump. It's, you're right, it's got this pump here, which actually goes like that. Can you get any clues from this bit down here? See that?
Foot pump?
A foot pump? Could be, could be. Any more ideas? What if I go like this? What is it?
Hoover.
A hoover! It's a kind of hoover. It's a vacuum cleaner, actually. Do you want to have a go and see if you can work it? You try and have a go. It's a bit cumbersome, isn't it? Very strange. What about you, Robert? You have a try working it. It's not that efficient, actually, is it? Yes. Well, it's probably a good thing we don't have to use them nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd take a long time.
Yeah. Have you got any ideas how it works, a vacuum cleaner? Because, I mean, there's no wires or anything.
The air pulls the dirt up.
So, do you know how the dirt's actually picked up then?
Well, as you pump it, air comes up and pulls up the dirt.
I see. So, as you pump here, Actually, what happens when I pump is that it creates a vacuum inside here, a space with nothing in it, basically. And what happens when I pump is that the air is removed from there, leaving nothing in it, and that sucks the dirt very quickly up into there. And that's why it's called a vacuum cleaner. Well, Christian Sheridan wanted to know how do hoovers work. Well, it's exactly the same basic principle, except nowadays, of course, there's an electric fan which whirs around, creates the vacuum and pulls up the dust and dirt inside the hoover bag. And if you thought that was primitive, have a look at this. It's the first ever vacuum cleaner, and it was invented in 1901 by a man called Hubert Cecil Booth, and it's a horse-drawn vacuum cleaner. As you can see, what you did basically was you threw the pipes up here into the window of the house that you were going to clean, sucked up all the dirt and dust from the carpets and curtains, and trundled along to the next house. Not terribly efficient, if you ask me. Not half as efficient as this. It's a remote-controlled vacuum cleaner. Wonderful. Well, in fact, it's made by the BBC Special Effects Department. I wish it was mine, but you can't actually buy one. Just think what you could do if you could, because you could just sit back in your armchair and let it do the cleaning for you. Go and hoover the bedroom, would you?
Actually, this isn't a vacuum cleaner. It's not even a shopping trolley. What it is the newest kind of fold-away bicycle. It's made from a special kind of aluminium, so it's very light. It's only about 22 pounds, and it's designed so that when you're not riding it, you can wheel it along with the minimum of fuss, you see. It's divided into three. One of the first things you notice about it is it hasn't got like an oily chain. It's driven by this very thick sort of rubber belt here. That drives the wheels along. It's divided into three and joined by this bar across here, which clips in, and so it's quite safe. You have to pull this lever in order to get it to come out again. But by far the most interesting thing about it, of course, is its new shape. It's got the handlebars all the way up here, the seat all the way down there. The proof is in the pudding. Give it a go. And, whoa, you can't really ride it properly inside the studio, though it is very nippy, and it's the latest kind of bicycle invention. Now, we've had lots of questions about the earliest bicycle inventions. Daniel Horner, Sharon Thorpe, and Michelle Want and Lisa Trembath all want to know when were bicycles first invented.
Simon, I've just found a book that might help you with those questions.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, you could look them all up in here if you like.
Well, actually, Joe, you always get away with it. Why don't you take the questions and you look it up while I have a go on the old bicycle?
Ooh, charming. All right, I will then. Right, what was the first question? When was the first bike invented and what was it like? Bicycles through the ages. Well, that should have the answers. Turn the page and history will come alive. Oh, yeah. Well, I
Bonjour, bonjour. Mwah. In 1790, the bike was invented in France by a Frenchman, of course. But the seller for rear was soon over here. We called it the hobby horse. It had wheels made of wood and a frame made of wood, and there wasn't a pedal inside. You used your feet to push you along on your bike. Mwah! Ha ha! Bonjour! Vive la France! Ding dong!
Ooh, in 1880, nothing could beat a ride on a penny farthing. The up provided the pedal power, the handlebars, the steering. The back wheel was ever so small, the front as big as you like. The only regret, you never could get on your bike.
At the turn of the century, 'twas icicle to own a safety bicycle. The wheels were shaped more equally for Edwardian society. It had brakes and chains and tires and gears, a design that would last for years. And bicycle clips were de rigueur on your bike.
In the First World War and Second World War, the bicycle was unique. Inexpensive to run when petrol was scarce, replacement parts were cheap. The frame was black and front and back, the lights were constantly out.
Yeah, turn those lights off. Don't you know there's a war on?
In case the enemy caught you a bite on your bike.
In the 60s, Alex Moulton, he came up with a new invention. On a Moulton bike, the frame was light with front and rear suspension.
The wheels were small, it was adjustable. With a model you could fold in half.
Oh, well, with a Moulton, you could do what you like.
On your bike. On your bike.
On your bike.
Diddly-um-pum. Oops. Oh, sorry. Anyway, never mind. I'm glad you're back, because you're just in time to see my amazing new invention. It's called the no-handed book reader. You see, when you're in bed, snuggled up in bed, you got your bedtime drinkies just there where you want it, and you can snuggle up in bed and read your book. Oh, it's a bit high. Hang on, I'll just adjust it. See it? Fully adjustable. Don't anybody dare laugh.
Now, chaps and chapesses, it's your turn. What we want you to do is send in some inventions of your own. It could be something like a new version of an older invention, or something useful, or some kind of fangled contraption, or maybe something that nobody's ever invented before. But send your... Ah, what's this? I'll give in.
Or it could even
Thank you.
be as silly as you like. Like, for example, this stylish hat. Thank you, Simon. Honestly, no taste. Anyway, what it is a cycling hat for a cyclist, because what you do, thank you, Simon, you put the hat on like this, you've got 2 cans of drink on either side like this, tube in your mouth, and away you go, and you have a nice, refreshing drink while you're cycling along. Ah, delicious. Whoa! And here's another silly invention. Or is it? Ha-ha! Specs that you can read with in the dark. So I'm going for a cycle in the dark. Get inventing.
Right, onwards. Forwards, forwards. Now, your inventions can be as silly as you like or as sensible as you like. Send them in to us. If it's sort of quite small, you could actually send the invention in, but if they get sort of fairly big, just send the design in, and maybe we'll put them together on the programme. OK? Now, this is my new invention for giving you the address of the programme. It's called A Classroom Full of Kids.
London!
And finally, Louise Cook wants to know who invented puzzles, and Ian Cund wanted to know who invented computers. Well, I'm going to find out the answers to those for next week. But for now, we've put the two together and come up with a computer puzzle. What you have to do is this. Can you find which wire leads to the professor's invention? Well, there's the professor, and there's his invention, and you've got 30 seconds, starting from now.